McCudden hurtles past, then zoom climbs. Foss maneuvers bravely in spite of the odds.
In a group combat like that, when it's 1 against 4, the best place to be is in the middle of everybody else. Because they're circling around you trying to maneuver, but they have to be careful, A, they don't shoot each other, or B, they don't crash into each other.
But McCudden is determined. He again noses over. No sooner do McCudden's guns spark to life than Foss pulls his nose to bear. Hot German lead tears through McCudden's SE-5, shredding fabric and wooden wing spars. Foss appears invincible at the controls of the triplane.
The airplanes of that era were creatures of the air. You felt every input that you gave to the controls. You had cable connections to the ailerons, the rudder, the elevators. Not at all like today, where we have fly-by-wire jets where you move a control stick 1/8 of an inch and you get a knife-edge flight all of a sudden.
Foss's mastery of his machine finally catches up to V.P. Cronin. His SE-5 has taken severe damage.
He finally got too close to me, and I resorted in desperation to the old method of shaking a pursuing machine.
He puts his aircraft into something that looks like a spin, almost as if he's either been incapacitated or the aircraft has been somehow disabled. After a couple of revolutions, it appears that Foss actually buys it and lets him fly away.
Foss has knocked 3 SE-5s out of the fight and landed hits on any British pilot who's approached him. But now, 3 more SE-5s of 56 Squadron join the fray. A startling array of pilots now surround Vernera Fosa, all British aces. The light and agile triplane could easily climb above the combat and escape, but Fosa savors the thrill of the dogfight. The German ace is destined for glory or death. September 23rd, 1917. In the midst of a wild melee, famed German ace Vernera Fosa holds his own against no less than 6 top British aces. Fosa savors the combat, superbly demonstrating the lethal effectiveness of his prototype Fokker triplane.
His stick and throttle ability, his ability to fly in a disciplined way in a fight, his ability to stay not calm, but to keep his wits about him in these very stressful situations. If he were flying with us today, he'd probably be one of the best.
British SE-5 pilot Richard Mayberry now zeroes in on Fosa, diving on him from 6 o'clock. Fosa breaks right to shake him off, but Mayberry is not thrown.
At this point in the battle, things get very complicated and very confused. An albatross joins the battle, which of course helps Fosa considerably, at least numerically.
A German Albatross D3 has stumbled into the action, turning easily onto Mayberry's tail. Mayberry zoom climbs to shake the Albatross. A German pilot gives chase. But even worse, Fosa latches on as well. Flying nearby, James McCudden and Arthur Rhys-Davids move in behind the Germans. And for a moment, the battle is transformed into a wild, twisting tail chase. The Germans are sandwiched between the British. The Albatross pitches up, zooms, then drops in behind McCutton and Rhys-Davids. The German yanks the stick back. The gut-churning loop puts him squarely behind the British.
Unfortunately for Rhys-Davids, the Albatross manages to unload his guns into his airplane.
But Rhys-Davids stays in the fight, the Albatross still on his tail. Now, at the head of the chase, Richard Mayberry will pitch up and loop back on the tail of the red-nosed Albatross. Mayberry yanks the stick back, throwing his SE-5 into a dizzying acrobatic maneuver. He fires from point-blank range. The wounded Albatross plummets. Foss is alone once again. He zooms, distancing himself from the slower climbing SE-5s. Foss looks down at the planes circling below. He could easily disengage and live to fight another day, but the enticement of the kill runs hot through his veins.
I think actually he got greedy, and he was looking at an opportunity to notch number 49 and number 50, and furthermore to close the gap on his friend and rival Manfred von Richthofen.
Foss dives back into the fray. He fires his Spandau machine guns into the nearest SE-5. Its engine pummeled. The British pilot dives out of the fight. The dogfight rages above no man's land. Foss handles the triplane superbly, pumping rounds into each of the attacking SE-5s. But it isn't enough.
The thing that's unfortunate for Voss is that he never really put enough planes out of commission to gain any sort of advantage. All the bullets he put into all those planes, he never drew a drop of blood from any of those opponents.
To the British, Foss seems invulnerable.
The triplane was still circling round in the midst of 6 SEs who were all firing at it as opportunity offered. And at one time I noted the triplane in the apex of a cone of tracer bullets from at least 5 machines simultaneously, and each machine had 2 guns.
The British are dumbstruck by the skill and tenacity of the German pilot in the Fokker triplane. But Werner Foss's luck is about to run out. Foss is here. British ace James McCutton is here. They'll streak in, head on. But Foss doesn't see another SE-5 coming in from the side. The SE-5 on the side watches the merge. Then opens fire. Rounds slam into the triplane's cockpit and fuselage. Foss stays aloft, but for the first time in the battle, he takes no evasive action. Then, Arthur Rhys-Davids dives on Foss from behind. He empties his Vickers machine guns into the triplane. Foss does little to avoid the deadly arc of bullets.
Given how much he straightened up and how the ferociousness of his maneuvering had abated, that he was wounded, and he was probably starting to have some difficulty maintaining consciousness.
Rhys-Davids fires another burst into the triplane, then pulls up. James McCutton is the only pilot to witness Foss's final moments.
When I next saw him, he was very low. I saw him go into a fairly steep dive, and so I continued to watch. And then saw the triplane hit the ground and disappear into 1,000 fragments. For it seemed to me that it literally went to powder.
After 10 minutes of ferocious combat, Vernera Fosa is dead at age 20. The German ace shot holes through every plane that attacked him, but incredibly, all returned to base.
As long as I live, I shall never forget my admiration for that German pilot. His flying was wonderful, his courage magnificent, and in my opinion, he is the bravest German airman who it has been my privilege to see fly.